Minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello, hello. Welcome to a dreary Tuesday in Pittsburgh, PA. It is December 18th. Good heavens. That's a week before Christmas, isn't it? And my sister's joining us from the family homestead in Titletown, USA. That's what they call it, Green Bay.
Well, we are more often than not.
Well, I think the Packers hold more NFC titles than any other team. The Steelers have the Super Bowl record.
Interesting.
I think. I think the Packers are they just one behind the Steelers or two? Packers are right on their, well, whatever. Who cares? Anyway, hi, Suze.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Someone just sent me this saying, I ordered a bunch of these bumper stickers. I think it's time we start dismantling the myth that guns equate to manliness. And the bumper stickers say this: some men are well hung. Others support the NRA. Jesus. Well, it's a little rough.
I sort of like that.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
Well, it's available at Zazzle.com. Anyway,
I don't put stuff on my car,
no,
though.
No.
I get vandalized easily enough without inviting them.
Especially inviting people who you know have guns. Well, I mean, clearly something is afoot that hasn't quite been like this before. Everybody's noting this, that some pro-gun, A-plus NRA backers are coming out of the woodwork and saying, we got to do something. I'm done. And, like the governor, former governor, now senator from West Virginia. But all of them who have done this are Democrats, because there's plenty of Democrats who are gun nuts.
Course.
Yeah, right.
But,
Not a Republican.
The other thing is I think as Republican senators begin to and Congress people begin to chip away at like their Norquist pledge, they begin to see the effect of selling your soul to these various lobbies. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they cannot look at this country and say that it's better this way.
No. Now, here's what I was thinking. Okay, so the Republicans needed another thing to show that they are wrong, and out of touch and sort of owned by somebody, like owned by Grover Norquist or owned by the NRA. And I think now is the time for absolutely, if you've never contacted your congressman or your senator before, now is the time to do it.
And that's the way you should do it. Why don't you show us that you are a person of moral fiber who has not sold his soul to the NRA.
Exactly. So
who can think for himself, who is capable of the critical thinking required of doing the job to which we've entrusted you.
Well, you got so many Republicans there in Missouri, you could be writing letters till doomsday. We have a senator.
I'm sure our guys are doubling down. I just heard. Do you know what I got a text at 5:30 this morning from my husband, and do you know what it said?
No.
Ladue School District discussing arming staff.
That's the district you were the president of the Board of Education?
Yes.
Arming the staff. That's the reaction. Okay.
I was president of the board when Columbine happened.
Yeah, more guns. That's always the answer. More.
When I tell you that we sat down and listened to every state-of-the-art security person, and they all said the same thing. Well, you can't prevent this. You can do whatever you want. It won't prevent it. You know, you can lock all the doors. It doesn't stop someone from opening them for a kindly soul going, would you just open the door? I mean, study after study after study says they do it. So that doesn't work. How are you going to arm the staff person? How is that staff person going to be where the gunman is?
Exactly. So the staff person has to be in the right place at the right time.
And you have to educate them, and they have to be capable of doing it. They have to be armed at all times.
Right. So then you say, well...
And what if your staff person, has a bad day?
Yeah. And also, what if it's then decided that because the staff person wasn't where they needed to be and still this thing happened, then, of course, the reaction for the gun nuts...
Arm all the teachers.
Arm every teacher. Every teacher not only has to be able to teach, but they have to be, they have to be absolutely schooled in taking down people with guns. So,
something that I've been reflecting on in this whole last week is if you can bear to look at a newspaper or listen to the news, all you're hearing about is hero teacher this and hero teacher that and hero administrator this and hero administrator. I would like to remind all the people that are saying these things, especially on Fox News, that these are the self-same teachers that during the weeks leading up to the election were next to Satan.
What, the government school teachers?
Yes.
They were indoctrinators of our youth.
Right. These are the people that make up, the teachers' union. These are the people that we have, over the last year or so absolutely villainized. And now,
they're
heroes. No.
Oh, look at that.
These are wonderful people. They're heroes. They gave their lives for our children, and more than that, we should arm them. I mean, do people listen to themselves?
Well, this is, again, just part of the sort of delusion that the Republicans have been schooling their folks in for decades and decades and decades, that the way you are safe as an American is to be armed. And the way that you keep your freedom in America is to be armed. So that freedom equates with a gun and safety with a gun, and everything, every bit of evidence from other nations, from even our own, points exactly in the opposite direction.
Right. So this woman who was paranoid and locked up with all of her assault rifles that she loved and collected,
because she wanted to protect herself,
was shot by her own gun.
And that's what happens. That's what happens. Right. Never mind.
This wouldn't have happened if that lady were not a paranoid gun enthusiast.
Right. She was a total gun enthusiast. And even though apparently she tried very hard to deal with this son of hers, she was still crazy enough herself that she had guns in a house with this disturbed kid. Nuts. Believing in that crap cost her life.
That's right.
Oh. So, I came upon an interesting thing on the bus. This is written by Jeffrey Toobin, the legal scholar. and it's in the New Yorker. And it says, so you think you know the Second Amendment. And it's fascinating because we forget that this idea of the Second Amendment meaning you can have anything you want in whatever quantity you want.
No, it's in order. It's in order to have a well-organized militia.
Yeah, well, wait. But here's what he says. Listen to this. Okay, so let's read the Second Amendment, which is written, as he says, in a rather ungrammatical manner by the Founding Fathers, and that has helped create the confusion about it. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's it, okay? Now, he says that throughout our history, the courts saw this Second Amendment as sort of two parts. Because it does seem a non sequitur if you think about it, what? You say, a well-regulated militia is necessary to the security of a free state. Okay, put a period there. And then have a new sentence. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Because all of a sudden we went from militia, a well-regulated militia, right?
Right.
A well-regulated militia, what does that mean? And all of a sudden we're at the people shall not be, okay.
And I would argue that this was really because in times of,
in 17,
war, which it was not unreasonable to think might happen, frequently, and it did, they didn't have a draft system. They called up their country people. They didn't have the arms to arm them. They needed their own.
They didn't have police departments. They didn't have anything. People had to fend for themselves, whatever. But he says that throughout our history, up until relatively recently, the courts had found that first part, which they called the militia clause, trumped the second part, which was called the bear arms clause. In other words, according to the Supreme Court and the lower courts, the amendment conferred on state militias the right to bear arms, but did not give individuals a right to own however many guns they want and carry a weapon. Now, that was really as it was determined throughout. If you go back in case law, Tubin says, it wasn't until the late 1970s.
It was the NRA,
the NRA, and he said, here's what happened. The National Rifle Association was a perfectly fine organization of sportsmen. But at their convention in 1977, there was a coup on the part of these sort of gun nut conservative members of the NRA, and they took over. They took over all the leadership positions, and that is when there was this complete change in what the NRA's job was. The NRA used to be all about, teaching gun safety and things like that. They weren't the NRA we know. So we're just talking about 40 years ago.
Right.
Anyway, he says the new NRA pushed hard for what then was considered a rather novel interpretation of the Second Amendment, that it gave individuals, not just militias, the right to bear arms. And he says initially this view was held up to absolute ridicule. Chief Justice Warren Burger, who, guys, will you remember the white-haired Chief Justice who was a Republican and not liberal? Chief Justice Warren Burger mocked the individual rights theory of the amendment that the NRA was propositioning. He called it a fraud. Look how far we've come. The NRA never stopped. And what they did is they became the most effective political lobbying organization in the country. And they managed, through 40 years of hard work to essentially reinterpret the Second Amendment.
Well, and 30 guesses who was the judge that wrote the opinion.
Scalia.
Right.
Well, here, listen, I got the case. The case that really did it is a recent case, 2008. It's a case, District of Columbia versus Heller. And in it, according to Toobin, Scalia triumphed. And although he said the opinion required him to craft a very careful kind of a statement. So Scalia conjured a rule that said the District of Columbia could not ban handguns because, quote, get this, handguns are the most popular weapon chosen by Americans for self-defense in the home, and a complete prohibition of their use is invalid. That's what he said. So here's the thing. Toobin says, as our law stands now, the government cannot ban handguns.
But can ban everything else.
Yep. The full meaning, he says, of that court's opinion in the District of Columbia case is still up for grabs. And Toobin tells us this. It is clear that the scope of the Second Amendment will be determined as much by politics as by law. The courts will respond to public pressure, as they did by moving to the right on gun control in the last 30 years. And if legislators responding to their constituents, write a letter, sense a mandate for new restrictions on guns, the courts will find a way to uphold that. The battle over gun control is not just one of individual votes in Congress, but of a continuing clash of ideas backed by political power. In other words, Toobin says, the law of the Second Amendment is not settled law. So we need to seize this moment.
We really do. And and we've tried before, and then it just gets mired in committees, or people just go on.
That's right. And that's why the NRA has taken its Facebook page down, has not been heard from since. You wouldn't even know they existed. There's not been an utterance from them, because this, although they've never laid low this long. It was pointed out in the Huffington Post today that after, like, for instance, the Temple shooting in Milwaukee, they laid low for 24 hours, but then they were right up again 24 hours later defending the Second Amendment. Now, it's been, 4 or 5 days? They're not to be heard or seen.
Down.
They're not only down, you can imagine the meetings going on there. They know they're under threat. They know they're facing something they've never faced before. And it's going to be ugly, because they will come out guns blazing. You can bet. And they're already figuring out how to marshal their forces. And that's a well-organized group, obviously. So it's time. I mean, I've had someone on the show said yesterday, we need something like, this is mothers must take the lead. Like Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
There's a mother out there that's started a million, mothers against, for gun control.
Yeah, but, and I said this to a friend yesterday, and she said, listen, you forget, after Columbine, I was in Washington, D.C., along with a million other mothers, and we were marching.
I know.
Remember the million mothers? Because we don't keep up the pressure. Because media always moves on, because the NRA and the pro-gun legislators simply bide their time. It's interesting. This is why, Friday night when I did a TV show on this, I was told by the conservatives on the panel, this is not the time to discuss gun control.
Why?
This is the time to mourn. And I'm thinking,
right.
It's
not good for their side.
Right. And you're still hearing that from them. This
Yeah, of
is
course.
not the time. We need to know now they're on to this is not the time. We need to see the facts sorted out here. We need to understand what happened. And it's fascinating to watch. They've got this down. They sort of just keep slowing things down, refusing to engage. That is what they're doing now. We can't let them succeed this time. If we don't seize this moment, then shame on us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you do just want to walk up to these people and say, what? It has to be your child or your grandchild that gets shot before you understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, 3 of these things in a week. Really?
Really? Well, as I pointed out, that one, there was a shooting at a mall in Portland. It really didn't even make the. We didn't even
no big
stop.
deal.
That was nothing because it didn't rise to the level of what gets our attention. Even 5, 6, 7 people killed doesn't do it anymore. We've got a call. Beyond belief. Hello, caller.
Hi, guys. It's PJ from Greensburg.
Hi, PJ.
Hey, Lynn, I just sent you that article. It's a little bit too long for on air, but it's by Robert Perry, and it addresses the Second Amendment and actually the steps that were taken in the 1790s to address the vagueness of the Second Amendment.
Oh, really?
By creating the militia clauses. And it lays out specifically that it is for the purposes of a long gun and for the use in a militia to defend the nation. So, it's crazy because, Joe Manchin was on Morning Joe. What a hypocrite. You shoot a commercial with your rifle, shooting through, a
law you don't like.
What was it, the free trade agreement. And one of, I think it was Meacham, the writer Meacham said to him, "What's different now?" And he said, "Well, it's the savagery and the massacre of these young children. So, in other words, Mr. Manchin, it's okay if I get shot."
Or it's okay if the high school students in Columbine are shot.
But because it's children.
It's children, all of a sudden, that got you. But that is what did it, yeah.
And I understand the logic there, but to me it is flawed logic.
Sure.
But, here's the craziest thing about the whole thing that strikes me is when you read that article about the militia and the militia clauses, and you look at why the Second Amendment was written, why I believe it was written, and why I think most people who can make a rational judgment after reading it, it shows that actually, if you were to bring that up to current times, we would have assault weapons for people. It's hard to grasp both sides of the thing because they're saying, yes, the people should have these weapons to defend themselves. So in some sense, the Second Amendment is saying, yes, you can have these weapons, but they're saying you can't have them personally in your home. They are to be kept somewhere where you can access them, and if the country needs you, you rise up, you grab your weapon, and you defend the country.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Founding Fathers were pretty good about most of these amendments, but this one they did screw up. It's not clear at all.
Well, they like I said, they amended it. They put the clauses in 1792. I think the unclarity of it or the cognitive dissonance of it addresses the issue that you were talking about, which is the gun nuts twisting it. Yeah. Lobbying to twist it. And being successful.
Well, they're successful. You know what? The conservatives and Republicans are relentless and they're patient. They keep at something as long as they have to. It took them 40, 50 years to demonize the media. It took them 30, 40 years to rewrite the Second Amendment. And in part, they do it by they created this system of so-called think tanks, and these think tanks put out their own experts. So they got, the Hoover Institute to do all kinds of, have constitutional scholars who wrote big papers and stuff, absolutely construing the Second Amendment as the NRA wanted them to. So all of a sudden, they've got all this research, and they do this on everything, and they have experts that come forth. And it took them decades, but they did it.
Hey, they've succeeded in trying to destroy all of FDR's programs.
Yeah, what I want to see,
like Pete Peterson doing, the giant debt crisis.
Yeah, right, exactly. They've been there. They're again, relentless and shameless. Two adjectives that always apply.
One more thing, and I'll let you guys go. I've taken enough time. One of their arguments that just kills me is, sorry, that's a bad pun, is, law-abiding citizens. Law-abiding citizens should be able to hold guns. Look at these guys' records. They were all law-abiding until they did it.
That's right. The Virginia Tech, the biggest massacres have been done by totally law-abiding.
And did you see the interview with one of the shooter's mother's neighbors or the? No. And they were going on and on about how she knew she was trained in how to use a gun properly. She was the an exemplary example of a gun owner.
Responsible gun ownership.
And
yeah.
I thought,
yeah.
Geez, you just proved everybody's case that wants something done about this.
Exactly. Thank you, PJ. Colette writes, if the teachers have guns, how will they secure them so that their kids don't end up getting hold of them and shooting each other by accident or something? And if the guns are secured and locked up, then how do the teachers get them out in time to take action when they need to take action? Good questions all. Good questions all. And then Colette goes on to say, I had some teachers that I definitely would not want armed. Who hasn't?
Right.
Go ahead, caller. Hi.
Well, hello, Lynn. It's Michael, Palm Springs.
Hi, Michael.
I would like to make one clarification. A gun has never, ever killed anyone. It's only when people have guns that they go off and end life.
Mm-hmm.
So either people have to be regulated or the guns have to be regulated.
Right.
Because together, both of them are just too deadly.
Yeah. And we acknowledge that most people with guns don't get, in trouble and don't hurt other people and all this. But you're right. How many times do we have to see this? So there has to be regulation here. We've got to figure out how to do, because the combination, you're right. People don't care.
Possibly if the first victim, the shooter's mother, had guns, maybe.
That's
she would have been able to have stopped him.
That's right, and see how their wonderful argument fails them. See, because that's what they always say.
All of the arguments are becoming very, very thin. They're tissue thin right now, and that is why the NRA is in hiding. That is why all of these gun right groups are keeping quiet, because they really have to scope the landscape and see how rational thinking people are attacking them, so that they can come in with their twisted, skewed logic.
Exactly.
I mean, thank the world for Dianne Feinstein reenacting her gun control law from 93 or 94. And I do believe it will pass.
I don't know. No, I don't know about that. Here's why. You need a Republican vote. Not one, as far as I know, not one Republican senator has come out and said that they are amenable to some gun control measures. Let alone
Joe Manchin.
No,
from West Virginia.
He's a Democrat.
That's true. Yep.
Not one Republican. There was not one. The people you're hearing from are pro-gun Democrats. that are having. And
right.
I mean,
Joe Scarborough,
but he's not in the Congress.
And he doesn't really have that much clout.
And you know what I think? I think there needs to be a concerted effort on the part of many to go after. What you want to do is go after the NRA members who are the hunters, who are the sportsmen, and tell them that the organization—
They need to speak up.
They need to leave. They need to speak up, make very public statements about this organization no longer. As a matter of fact, we'll start another organization, Sportsmen of America or whatever, and we'll go back to what the NRA used to be, because that's the kind of thing that's why we had joined. That's what we thought it was. And I
think we also have to be real honest about what we can't do. We can't ever predict who's going to do this.
Or protect everybody from every...
We can't ever protect every child in every school from every threat.
Right.
We simply can't do that. That is an unrealistic expectation.
Right.
So you have to instead try and figure out what it is that you can do. What we've been doing is simply throwing up our hands and saying, okay, well then we can't do anything, so let everybody have guns. That's clearly not the answer.
You know, Susan, we've not only just thrown up our hands, our reaction since Columbine, or wherever you want to put the demarc, has been, in fact, to relax gun restrictions, to create more and more and more zones where, I mean, it's been noted, but Michigan's brilliant legislature, after essentially destroying the unions, a day or two later decided that they were going to allow guns in schools. They passed legislation before this or the same day, whatever, I don't know. And they join other states.
Well, was it the University of Colorado?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, and they have a dorm,
and no one's in it.
Yeah.
They had to have a segregated dorm for students who wanted to.
And guess what? No student wanted to live in it.
Even the ones who had guns.
Armed guards in the schools. There's going to need to be armed guards within shot line of every square inch of a campus in order for it to be completely safe. And with the defunding of education, are the schools going to have the money to be able to hire these marksmen?
You know what? We're out of our cotton-picking minds. Nowhere in the world is there this kind of a problem, because everywhere else in the world there is rational regulation. Only in America now kids are going to go to school in what essentially looks like a war zone?
Yes, so that they can get their whole let's educate our children at home routine and ritual for this nation.
I was thinking, actually, a lot of people now will say, I can't send my children to school. I
can't send my children to school to a place where there's guns.
That's right.
Gomert. If only that teacher had an M5. Then she could have lunged at that guy and shot him instead of just, making a swipe. Oh, please.
Because teachers
he would have taken the gun from her and used it on her and more children.
All righty, Michael.
Okay, enough. All right, love you both.
Love you too, thank you. Oh, dear Lord. Well,
you have to, in order to start having a reasonable discussion, you have to admit what you can't do. Then you have to decide what you can do. And what you can do is regulate guns. You can have a government buyback program for guns that are no longer available. You'd be surprised how many people would turn in their guns for cash.
This is what the nation of South Africa did. And
it worked.
It worked. They had almost as heavily armed a population as we did, and then they just put a few things in. They had a gun buyback. They made it. They did a few regulations, and believe me, I was reading something where a guy who said he brought his gun in. He said when he walked out of that police station, he said, I felt so liberated. It's a heavy thing to have a gun. And we've gone off the deep end, as we have in so many ways. And always when we follow these right-wing nuts. I got to take a break. In a minute.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Discover the most beautiful you with smoother, brighter, and healthier skin. Sewickley Med Spa is now offering special holiday skincare packages for all skin types, including anti-aging, anti-blemish, and sun damage treatments. Not sure what to buy that special someone? Purchase a $100 gift certificate and receive an extra $10 free. Log on to SewickleyMedSpa.com for details. Sewickley Med Spa is conveniently located in downtown Sewickley at 435 Broad Street. Happy holidays from Sewickley Med Spa.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on your favorite local restaurants, museums, and shows. This week only, get discounts up to 65% on tickets to the Pittsburgh Symphony's Holiday Pops. bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's exclusive e-commerce mall. bergbargains.com.
This is the sound of a flat-screen television hurled off a building. Now the new bike your kid wants. These are the things you could have, all cast into oblivion. Because when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have bought with it. Use Energy Star light bulbs and appliances, and you could save hundreds of dollars a year. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
All right, we are back. David Gergen, who I think most people would agree is a very wise, measured, rational man, who is fair-minded and bipartisan by nature, serving Republican presidents and Democratic presidents. He wrote something. He talked about we're heading into the 150th anniversary of the Gettysburg Address. And he noted that at the end that Lincoln said that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. And Gergen says, we as a nation need to resolve that now with these children. And then he comes forward with three very specific things. He says three principles that we should agree to. One, to own a gun, you must first have a license, and it should not be easy to get it. The right parallel, he says, is to cars. Everyone over a prescribed age is entitled to drive, but cars are dangerous, so we first require a license determining that you are fit to drive. Citizens have a right to bear arms, but guns are dangerous too. So get a license. Okay, and think of how hard it is to get a driver's license.
And it's getting harder.
And it's getting harder. I was talking to our nephew, Hank, the other day, and I was saying, so when are you going to get your stupid license? He says, oh, well, I don't have time. I'm trying to do this now, and I have to, really have to study. I have to take the test. I'm still having trouble with the parallel park. And you realize you make it hard. And then you fail half the time. You go, my poor kid failed twice before he got his license. Why should it be easier to get a weapon of mass destruction? Or as somebody, Susan, pointed out yesterday, why should it be harder to adopt a cat from the Humane Society than it is?
Why do you have to prove that you're a fit pet owner?
Exactly. Okay. Second, Gergen suggests, if you are a civilian, you simply can't buy an assault gun. Hunters don't need military-style weapons, nor do homeowners who want to be able to protect their families. And
I would suggest that any guy that claims that he wants to go deer hunting with an assault rifle is demonstrating some serious issues.
Yeah, no, and I don't think do people do that? I don't think they do.
I can't imagine. So what do you want it for? If you aren't going to mow down a deer, who are you going to mow down?
Third, Gergen suggests, parents should be heavily advised to keep guns out of their houses and out of the hands of children. Okay, we got a caller. Go ahead, caller. Hello.
Hello?
Hello. Hi.
Hi, Lynn. It's Marge from Scott Township. How you doing
Hi.
today?
Fine, Marge. Go ahead.
Good. I'm wondering, because I have a lot of cousins who love their guns and
Wait a minute. Did you just say I have... Wait! Marge! Marge, did you just say I have a lot of husbands who...
Cousins.
What? You said...
Even I heard cousins.
Oh. No, Jess and I both heard husbands. Okay, I'm sorry.
My husband and I do not have a gun. However, we do support the Second Amendment to protect your home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to take away anyone's guns. I would like to slow down the sale of ammunition, though, for rifles. If we can do that, maybe.
Yeah, that would be a very wise idea. There are so many
when
things.
The shooting happened on Friday, I work for a company that we do child safety programs in elementary schools. We prevent, fire safety rules and all kinds of things in children's books. We have a website. I'll email it to you. We would never see anything like this coming. But my concern is, what's with the mother not locking up the rifles for her son who has issues, and she takes him to the rifle range?
Yeah, I know. I can't figure it either.
That's the part that bothers me. But I do think something's going to be done now because flipping real fast last night, Bill O'Reilly is now saying, you don't need this automatic rifle, people. You just don't need it.
Wow.
So now maybe something...
Now is the time. And shame on us if we let go of our resolve here. Thank you.
Okay, Lynn, have a happy holiday.
You too.
And I shall talk to you next year.
Okay. Happy New Year to you and all your husbands.
You should have to register for how many bullets you can buy at one time and blah, 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 blah. It wouldn't keep anybody from stockpiling, but people sure would notice. And it's not as if we don't do that. Have you tried to buy Sudafed lately?
Oh my God!
Okay,
it's like
so you have to you have to show a driver's license. You are entered into a central system, and you can't go from store to store and expect to accumulate. They will know.
Isn't that amazing? That's absolutely right. But you could go from store to store and get a Glock.
Well, right now you can just go in and order as much ammo.
Yeah.
You could clear their shelves if that's what you want to do.
Yeah. There's something, how...
And you can buy special exploding bullets. I would like to know, why does somebody need a special exploding bullet? If you're hunting for a deer, you don't want that. It will ruin the meat.
The meat. So
the only reason to do that is to maim... To kill. To make sure you kill whatever you're after.
Well,
and it ain't going to be an animal.
Those are those cop killer bullets.
That's right.
This amazing that the right wingers absolutely vote against things that the cops are begging them for. Please keep this stuff out of the hands of the bad guys because help us
here.
Well,
the cops are government. You have to arm yourself against the cops.
Oh, dear God. The paranoia.
Well, the paranoia is really speaking. If you want to get to it and take it to its logical extreme, the paranoia is about them organizing themselves into a well-regulated militia and using it to take over the government.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that is something that people would have scoffed over a few years ago. And if you aren't thinking seriously about it now, you're naive.
Exactly. I agree. Oh, dear God. All right. I'm going to take a little break from this, Suze, and I'm going to note the passing of Senator Daniel Inouye. I just want to say this.
Unique guy.
He's a pretty extraordinary person. I've got, he had one arm. His right arm was shot off in World War II. But get this. This is from the obituary in the New York Times. Wow. Okay, so first of all, he lived in Hawaii. His parents were Japanese immigrants to Hawaii. When Pearl Harbor happened, he went running there and became he was a medical volunteer at Pearl Harbor. And then in 1943, when the United States was desperate enough, it lifted its ban on Japanese Americans serving in in the military. He joined up immediately. He joined up they created a regiment, you might recall, of all volunteer Japanese Americans. And he was part of that regiment that became the most decorated unit in American military history. Listen to the day he lost his arm. April 21st, 1945, just weeks before the end of the war in Europe. He led an assault near San Terenzo, Italy. His platoon was pinned down by 3 machine guns. Although shot in the stomach, he ran forward and destroyed one emplacement with a hand grenade and another with his submachine gun. He was crawling toward the third when enemy fire nearly severed his right arm. And he recounts it. He looked over, he'd been holding a grenade, and he saw the grenade clenched in his fist, but his fist was no longer attached to his body. And he grabs the grenade with his left hand out of his now severed right hand and tosses it and destroyed the third and final bunker. Then, stumbling forward, he silenced further resistance with gunbursts before being hit in the leg and collapsing unconscious. Wow.
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 I thought sort of equally impressive was his just dignified stance on reparations for the interred Japanese Americans.
He opposed them.
Said any amount would be an insult.
Right, exactly. So when we decided that we would give reparations to the Japanese Americans, he was against.
He voted against it.
And I have a full quote here. You must have that too. It would be almost impossible, he says, to place a price tag on reparations. It would be insulting even to try to do so. So he was against that. He's an extremely principled guy. He was very involved in the Watergate hearings. He was also involved in the Oliver North, Iran-Contra, and he ripped Ollie North and Admiral Poindexter apart. They were up there making themselves look like they were the greatest patriots in the history of the nation, willing to sacrifice themselves and, blah, 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 for the greater good. And in a way, he was known as this very soft-spoken, polite man, said to Ollie North, "That is an excuse for autocracy, not policy. Vigilance abroad does not require us to abandon our ideals or the rule of law at home. On the contrary, without our principles and without our ideals, we have little that is special or worthy to defend." This was an honorable man. He was since the passing of Senator Byrd of West Virginia, he had been the longest-serving senator. And
I think universally admired and respected.
Exactly true. So I wanted to note that. Good man. And will be missed. Not a grandstander in any way. In any way. How about I get a final break in here and then we'll come back? Okay? Stay with us.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Happy holidays from Pittsburgh City Paper.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a pep talk that can motivate you. sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want them to.
You can improve your future. Now get your game face on and take the first step towards a better life. Hurry up. Don't make me repeat myself.
Whatever level of motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org for your pep talk and for free classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Okay. So Barack Obama was reelected yesterday, I guess, right? The Electoral College has spoken. And, you know, the tally, believe it or not, there's still votes being counted. There are.
Unbelievable. But he's come out. Yeah, I know what you're going to say, and it's pretty impressive.
It's unbelievably impressive. Here's what the LA Times. The election really wasn't even close. He won by 4 percentage point margin. And get this. He now is joining a group of presidents that number only 5. He'll make it 6. In U.S. history, who won the presidency twice with 51% or more of the popular vote, who did it twice. Barack Obama. And when they break it down, I mean, it's huge. By the way,
it is huge, and I can't help being vaguely amused by the fact that it was the Republicans' gift that gave it to him the second time.
The gift of which particular
the gift of an unelectable candidate.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, everybody thought he was vulnerable.
Yeah, I think he was vulnerable.
Well, when you have, again, here it is, the death wish of these people who now control the Republican Party. I mean, it is amazing to watch.
No, what you have is a group of people that are clearly incapable of learning because they dismiss facts.
That's right. And they're incapable of governing as well. And they're incapable, apparently, of changing. They're incapable of learning. Is that what you just said? They're incapable of learning. Because they
look at the election results and double down. They weren't conservative enough.
Here's a sobering letter. And if this guy's right, and he damn well may be, and I think the more sort of realistic observers of the scene, although, see, I think nowadays what's often the wisdom is, and history has shown us that, I don't think it necessarily works anymore.
No.
Because, I mean, they said Obama could not win because the unemployment rate, no one had ever won with the unemployment rate where it was. Nobody had ever won when people's confidence in the feelings positive about the nation had been so low. Nobody had ever won when the price of gas. Nobody had ever won. This never before. And look, he wins, and he wins big. I just think everything's different now. We, the people, are just... I don't think you can assume anymore that because it always worked that way in the past when we're talking about our politics, that it will work that way in the future.
No, I don't think so either.
Right. Everything is sort of up for grabs, which is why I'm saying that in prefacing this letter to the New York Times today. Because this guy is writing what, in fact, the history tells us will happen. This is a guy from New Jersey, Daniel Grossman. He wrote, "The sad fact is that nothing will be," he's talking about, so here we go, another bloodbath, another this and now, and everybody's saying things have to change. "The sad fact is that nothing will be done. The corruption and cowardice of American politicians far exceed any concern for the welfare of the American people. God forbid our leaders show the bravery that the teachers and the students of Sandy Hook Elementary School displayed. Moreover, politicians know that in a short time we, and the media, will move on to something else. There is no need for me to send my condolences to the families of the Newtown victims. Enough people are already doing that. But let me be the first to send condolences to the families of the victims of the next inevitable massacre.
How horrifying.
I hope he's wrong. He would have been right if he wrote that after any of the last ones. He would have been right after Columbine. He would have been right after the Sikh temple. He would have been right after any of the Aurora, Colorado. He would have been right after Giffords. He would have been right. He would have been right. He would have been right. I'm praying he's not right.
Well, I'm sure I've said this a gazillion times before, but in order to move forward, you have to be able to envision success. If we just accept that there'll always be another one, it'll be paralyzing to us. There might well be, but that doesn't stop us from doing everything we can to prevent another one, or at least 5 of them in a week.
Right. So, again, let's hearken back.
Doesn't do us any good to say it. There's no percentage in the attitude. Just let's assume we can take steps forward to fix it, and then let's do it. What stops us every single time is this feeling of, well, what good will it do?
Right.
Here's the good it'll do. If we all get off our collective asses and do something, we can change.
Okay. I'm with you. Wow. All right.
Even my mother-in-law said something about gun control.
Really?
Yeah. That it's time.
And she's a rock-ribbed Republican.
She's leading the paranoid challenges on each and every front.
Oh, man. All right. I'm going to change the subject. Pew Research Center has done a study of religions and what religions people subscribe to or ascribe to or whatever it is, or follow or affiliate with. And this is a global study. And I just want to tell the Christians who, I know in this country at least think that they're the only people of faith. I'm not talking to all Christians. I'm talking to some Christians here. That 2/3 of the world's population are not Christian. 2/3. Now, Christians tend to live, though, in countries in which they are the majority. So Christians don't often find themselves as a minority. And I think being a minority is a very good thing to experience. So Christians are the biggest religion. Susan, who do you think's next?
Muslims.
Sure. Muslims. Christians are 32%, Muslims 23%, and coming on strong. What the third largest group is going to surprise some people. The third largest group is people with no religion.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Unaffiliated.
Yeah.
But it's not. But that term is misleading because it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't believe in God.
No.
It just
they're
means
not
that
spiritual.
they are not affiliated with any specific. They aren't a member of a congregation.
Right. They don't buy into a specific. Here's what we do. Here's what we believe. Yeah. Exactly. Something interesting is the youngest median age of religious populations are the Muslims. The median age of Muslims globally is 23 years old. They're very young. That means the future looks to be very good for them. The two religions with the oldest median age are Jews and, I believe, Buddhists. And that's not a good sign. The median age for Jews is 36.
And it doesn't have anything to do with longevity?
I have no idea, Suze.
See, I mean, again, when you're quoting these statistics,
well, here's
a lot of Muslims live in the part of. Are these just in America? Or
no. It's global.
Okay, so then you have to look at the living conditions and the life expectancies of the places and where these various groups are concentrated. And if you look in Muslim areas, their life expectancy and average rate, is going down because they live in many places where there's a lot of war.
Okay. I don't know if they factored that stuff in when they do this. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if they factor it in either. So you're quoting numbers that you have no idea what they actually mean.
But I think they're okay. So let's get away from that then. The religious groups, though, with the youngest median ages, have obviously they say have the highest levels of fertility.
Well, I'm sure that's true.
And they have the highest levels of poverty. And
I'm also sure that's true. They have the highest levels of fertility because they don't have birth control.
That's right. And here's another. And they have the lowest levels of female education. So they keep their women down, uneducated, and pregnant.
Okay. So I am just then underlining what I just said. That same population has a much lower long-term life expectancy, which makes their median age lower.
All right. Also, smaller faith groups like Baha'is, Jains, Sikhs, Shintoists, Taoists, Wiccans, and Zoroastrians, put them all together, they make up less than 1% of the global population.
Right.
And Jews?
We're below that.
You bet.
I know.
Jews
we are vanishing.
Make up only, get this, 0.2.
Now, again, are those Jews that are affiliated with the congregation?
No, it's people. They were asked people who
just people who identify themselves
as Jewish. Are you a
Jew?
You know, what are you? And if they said a Jew,
yeah,
they got
we're very
marked down.
few and far between.
They said the Jewish population is about 14 million globally. 0.2%.
Well, we might not be chosen, but we certainly seem to be special.
Well, why do you say that?
Because there's so few of us.
God.
Rarity, you know.
Okay. And here's something interesting, too. They say Christians are the most evenly dispersed of all religions except in one place. And that's the Middle East and North Africa, which happens to be the place where Christianity originated. That's where they're not well represented. But
no, but in large part because they've been driven out. Well, you know, the countries like Egypt and Iraq and Iran used to have very diverse, religiously diverse populations.
Well, there were big Jewish populations.
Very big Jewish populations, Coptic Christian, population, regular Christian. It's been driven out.
Yeah. So anyway, that's that. That's a Pew Research study, and it's interesting.
It is interesting, but again, as reporting numbers is always very interesting, but understanding what they mean might be different than what it appears it means. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
But there's no disguising the fact that of what the raw numbers are.
there's no also disputing the fact that the Muslim population is a young population, and so that religion would have a younger median age. They're young. Susan, these countries are filled with. I mean, what is the median age in like Iran and is like 16? I mean, they have these incredibly young populations. So whatever. Anyway. And Christianity is very powerful in that's not true. I shut up. Okay. Suze, thank you.
Yeah, bye.
How is it in Green Bay today?
It's beautiful, and I'm happy to say that I have planned my trip for a change appropriately, and will leave on Wednesday right before the first expected
blizzard
big snowfall of the season. It's going to be a blizzard. There'll be 12 inches on the ground by Thursday night.
Good. Abandon our old mother and go ahead.
Hey, I'm heading for the hills. If Mom wants to come with me, she's more than welcome. But instead, we're just making sure she's got food in the house
and give her a shovel.
Right,
yeah.
and send her outside with a shovel. No, she's got her snowman has already called her, as in the guy that will do her
snowman.
Yeah, she's all set.
That's good. That's good. All right, Sue, safe travels.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Talk to you next week.
Yes, bye. Bye to the rest of you. We hope to have Chris Potter tomorrow. He's under the weather today, and who knows? We're hoping. See ya.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.